my friends, and welcome to episode 129 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone. So, we will start today's episode with a question. Is it possible to run a Kiss-related podcast and have as a guest a big personality that also runs a music podcast pretty much focused on Kiss? Of course it is. We did it in the past, and we will continue to do it in the future. We are so proud to be part of such a huge family. You know, we believe in strong collaborations and synergy, and that's actually what makes all of us happy and successful. So, on to the point. Born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, our guest tonight is a true music lover and became a member of the Kiss Army at a very early age. He also has an impressive and unique vinyl collection featuring artists that reside in rock, metal, punk, alternative, psych, and indie. And above all these things, he is well known for hosting The Record Spinner, a very entertaining podcast about vinyl collecting and music that has over 6,000 subscribers and was sponsored by the likes of Spin Clean and Cos Audio. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dylan Pegg to our show. So nice to have you with us, Dylan.
Thank you very much, guys. It is an immense honor to join you today. Thank you.
Okay, this is a little weird because like seeing you on the screen, it's like watching an episode of The Record Spinner.
And this is the angle that most people know.
Exactly. And we're gonna talk about The Record Spinner in your podcast later on. But first, you know, before we start, I wanna thank you for contributing to my debt. Because
how is that?
Because every time I watch your show and you review a bootleg, it's like, oh my God, sounds amazing. Look at the artwork. Look at those posters.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have it. Then I call a couple
Sometimes-
of people I know and let's go, you know? So
Yep.
your show is expensive.
Believe me, it is. But you know, in terms of what you're saying about the bootlegs and the packaging, it gives Universal a run for its money. So I hope they're taking notes on all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
Seriously.
The packaging is
insane.
second to none. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? More on that later. Let's start talking a little bit about you. How and when did you get into music?
Oh gosh, so my parents have always been music lovers, so it's pretty much thanks to them that I was subjected to the stuff that they liked, and this has always remained a part of my life. And I think becoming a Kiss fan as early on as I did, that played a much bigger role into my longing love for music, because I feel like in some cases when it comes to growing up, it's very easy to kind of go through phases where, you know, that was like kind of the flavor of, you know, a couple of years, and then you move on to something else, whether it's, you know, someone was a musician, then they got into sports. For me, ever since I was probably born, it's always been about music. And at this point now, being 26, there's no other way to go.
26. This kid's half my age, man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, man. Wow.
So being 26, I'm curious, what were some of the bands that sort of crafted your taste in music at a young age?
So my parents certainly laid the foundation. My dad is very much a hard rock fan, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Jethro Tull, all that stuff. And then my mother is very much a progressive rocker. So she loves Rush. That's her favorite band. Get that, a female Rush fan. So
Your mother.
That's the ongoing joke.
Wow.
She loves Genesis, particularly Peter Gabriel era. And all basically, I mean, there's a lot of common ground between both of them. So that was pretty much what I was raised on. So of course, bands like I said, Purple, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Jethro Tull, Genesis, Rush. Yes, all those bands were what I was raised on. And then as I got older, I just kind of, you know, gravitated towards everything else that I ultimately started to like and collect in my collection.
Mm-hmm. Well, what an interesting mixture, you know, because sometimes when I couldn't say that it's like a rule, but, you know, when you're into hard rock, you know, of course you're going to like, you know, progressive rock, like, you know, Rush and the stuff, but, you know, Genesis and yes, that's an interesting mixture, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I like, you know, the virtuosic elements and the more tranquil elements in those kind of bands, I still like to leave my hair down and rock out a little bit. So it's a good balance.
There you go. Hey, Dylan. So I guess you feel really proud to claim that you've been a Kiss Army member since you were really, really young. But I mean, really young. So can you please share with us your story?
Yes. So in 2000, VH1 was the sponsor for the farewell tour. Back when VH1 was good quality music entertainment, kind of robbering MTV at the time.
Yeah.
And they would always run daily Kiss segments. And VH1 was on often in my household, whether it was just whatever music videos and songs were trending at the time or just watching like behind the music, things like that. And I remember there was always like daily Kiss segments being shown because they were pushing the tour. And, you know, whether it was just down to the makeup and the fact that they stood out from everything else that I was subjected to, I just gravitated towards that. And it's kind of funny because when I was 2 years old at the time when I was being subjected to all this, I couldn't pronounce any C's or K's. So when I saw Kiss, I kept saying Kiss. P-I-S-S.
Okay.
And ever since then, like that was my fixation. So I remember I think it was that summer of 2000, I got the Greatest Kiss compilation on CD. And then my first proper Kiss album, and by album I mean cassette, was Love Gun. And the rest is history, basically. And that kind of just set me down a path.
Of course. And so we touched on your parents before, but was your dad a Kiss fan?
Oh yeah, he saw them a couple times in the 70s, and basically, I think he had always remained a fan, even going into the 80s, because he was telling me stories on how he rented, you know, the Animalized live uncensored video from time to time when he was younger. But you know, he definitely contributed a little bit, but I kind of took it to a whole other level that surpassed what his extent was, because like he wasn't really quite into like I guess the whole merchandising thing in the late 70s. He kind of grew up out of that, but early on, like when they were starting out in like 74, 75, he was there. So definitely.
Wow. Oh my God. All right. So, you know, we will get into all of the details of your passion for collecting and doing your podcast, you know, a bit later on in the episode. But first, you know, you were talking about contribution, you know, your parents, you know, and we can see you're surrounded by music, you know, you're a music lover too. But how did Kiss contribute to living your life surrounded by music? How important was Kiss for you?
That is a very good question. I think once I kind of found my sort of path of what I was going to be completely enamored with, I stuck with it. And I always say that even to this day, like, being a Kiss fan, not that it lies totally in this, but it keeps that young kid in me alive. Like when I go to the shows, such as the one on December 2nd, yes, I will be there.
Yes.
When the house lights hit and it's You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, that little 4 or 5-year-old kid in me just comes to life. And you need that youth to kind of keep that part of yourself retained. So that's why to this day, it's such a strong attachment. And for me, I mean, basically Kiss was kind of the start for my love for all things music. And that's how I became more interested in other bands and such. Just like that, pretty much.
Okay.
So I'm curious then, for you, what was the appeal of Kiss? Was it more the music, more the image, or was it both?
Image definitely played a big role, because I remember at the time, like I said, watching VH1 when I was a kid, the big singles were like Rob Thomas and Santana Smooth, Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication. Everyone just, to my young eyes, looked exactly the same. And then you have Kiss with the makeup and the outfits. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And I'm sure that's probably what a lot of fans thought back when they first witnessed Kiss back in the 70s. It was like, this is completely different and new. So image was definitely one thing. But then the music, it's music with muscle. It's rocking, it's heavy, and it's also memorable and catchy. It's to the point, and it's songs that are registered in your brain upon listening, which is why, there's home movie footage of me singing along to Rock and Roll All Night, Shout It Out Loud, because they're simple, memorable songs that have great hooks. So definitely both intertwined, maybe image, maybe just slightly more so, but then ultimately, the music caught on majorly. So I think it's about even.
Okay. So, basically being 26 years old, you got into the band late in their career. So I'm curious, what's your favorite lineup?
Oh, geez. The original Fantastic Four is always going to be the basis of any comparison. I just feel like that's untouchable. But if there is a lineup that I prefer maybe just slightly more than, let's say, others or the original, I got to say the Revenge lineup of Gene,
Okay.
Paul, Eric Singer, and Bruce. Like,
Mhm.
put on a live three, and they are just grooving, especially Eric Singer as a drummer.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a reason why, he is a more than qualified, guy for the job to this day for the past
yeah.
20 odd years. So, but no, that lineup was definitely on fire just between playing ability and then around the early 90s, they started to kind of reinvigorate the set list with some of the older gems and such. So the way that they translated that older material was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because, with all of the episodes that we're running with Pask, and sometimes we have the chance to have, guests, or we have discussion panels. And so you got to the point. So we always go back to the original lineup. But then when it's time to choose, let's say, the second favorite, everybody, almost, I have to say 95%, we go with Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer, man. And that specific area was fantastic, man. That was unbeatable.
There was definitely some magic there. And that's absolutely no disrespect to Eric Carr as well.
Absolutely not.
Because when he came in 1980, like if you listen to things like Cole Gin and Strutter, like from the Unmasked tour, he just rips through it. It's so special. But it was that little just something. I think it's the equation of everything. Because like I was saying, the set list was kind of beefed up with some older classics in here and there. So it all kind of plays in.
No, Claudio, I thought about that because myself as well. That's my favorite lineup is the Revenge lineup. And I asked myself, why is that? Well, here's what I think, and let me know what you guys think. Fans say that Kiss was at their peak in 78, right? So that basically assumes that they were pretty much on the downward spiral throughout their career. And then they sort of came back with 96, and they were a legacy band. But in my opinion, in the early 80s, Kiss reset the button on their career, and they were slowly working their way up. And I believe they reached their peak with Revenge.
With Revenge.
And I think that's why fans love it so much.
I can definitely see that. Like, I think that reset button was definitely like at Creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as Paul always says, people were listening with their eyes. So they took the makeup off. And it's been well documented everywhere that Gene was certainly not comfortable being out of it. Yeah. He got Hollywood, this and that. Everyone knows the story. But like, even when you look at like photos and videos from that era, it seemed like they were comfortable just as they were with the makeup on when they peaked in 77, 78. So it was definitely a second coming, basically. No pun intended with the reunion documentary, but that's it.
And I think we all agree that that was, we started to see kind of Gene coming back during the Hot in the Shade, era stuff.
Slowly.
The tour was fantastic. The set list was amazing. But Gene definitely came back in the Revenge era, and I think I know I can feel like they were hungry again, and that
100%.
They were sounding like so crispy, so nice.
Yeah, 80s were definitely the doldrums, I think, just because everything went very glammy and a little too bright with Asylum. And then in Crazy Nights, they worked with Ron Nevison, trying to go for a more poppy kind of sound.
Keyboards,
yeah. And then it just seemed like it was a slow kind of climb back. But, I mean, they found it ultimately. And then everything kind of happened the way it did with Unplugged, the original lineup, and then the reunion tour, and everything else that followed after.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another question I have, again, related to your age. I'm very curious. What are your favorite 3 albums, and how would you compare those albums with maybe the later albums like Psycho Circus, Sonic Boom, and Monster?
Oh, so, all right, I'm going to say something because you just mentioned Monster, and I'm just going to flat out say, and I know Kiss fans will stick pins in my effigy. Monster is a top 10 Kiss record for me.
Nice.
And I tried to defy that. Seriously. It's just great, solid rock and roll. Now, Sonic Boom, for me, look, those 2 albums in particular, I grew up with they were new albums for me as a Kiss fan. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Just to think, because look, by 2009, look, I knew the catalog inside and out. I just did. But to say that I was alive to see this album come out, I went to Walmart before I went to school to pick up Sonic Boom. And I remember pre-ordering Monster and getting it the day it came out and listening to it, In hindsight, I mean, sure, albums like Destroyer, self-titled debut, Rock and Roll Over. Look, I would say those are top three for me. Even though Love Gun has a special place in my heart because that
Was your
that was my
first?
first proper Kiss record.
Right.
Sonic Boom. Look, if you want to hear Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun Redux, good, go for it. But Monster, they really took that foundation and just took it to a whole other level. It's just a all-out perfect classic rock record. So seriously, I don't know why people hate on those records too much. Maybe it's because of who's in the Catman and Spaceman makeup. But
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
it stands out on its own plane. So it's a top 10 record for me, at least.
Nice, nice. So what would be your bottom three?
Hot in the Shade, literally way too much filler, and it's polished demos. And why is there drum machines all over it when you have Eric Carr who could play the parts? Why? I love Carnival of Souls for what it is alone, just as an album that doesn't have much connection to Kiss. But while it does bear the name and the logo, it's hard to accept them doing grunge, especially at a time when grunge had basically been fizzled out. I mean, as far as I know, once Kurt Cobain died, that was probably the death of the genre in the mainstream, at least.
Yeah.
And then Crazy Nights, if you want to hear pop rock, you can listen to Bon Jovi. Kiss didn't have to do it, but then again, in the 80s, they were chasing a lot of trends. So that's kind of why those albums. So shockingly enough, Elder is not there. I love music from the Elder. Maybe it's because I was listening to Genesis and Yes growing up, and I can see some small parallels. So yeah, those are my bottom three for sure.
Nice.
That's great. That was my next question. I wanted to have your view on the Elder. That's great. So
look, it's their progressive rock record.
Yeah,
that's simply what it is.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. This is so much fun, man. So let's continue with Dylan, the Kiss fans. So who, speaking of favorites, who's your favorite member and why?
Oh God! So this is a toss-up. So I love the party nature of Ace. Like anytime you see like a candid shot of him with a bottle of wine or a beer, like you just know that he's having the time of his life, and that's the life mantra that anyone who wants to enjoy themselves should go by. But I love Gene's work ethic and his whole mentality of anything is possible and just go after what you're going after. And I think having that ideology and all of the pomp and circumstance that he inhabits with everything that he does, not even just in Kiss, but as a businessman, it very much influences the work ethic with what I do with the record spinner. So music and persona aside, as an individual who has worked very hard to achieve the status of where he's at right now, Gene as well, for sure.
But what do you think about Paul?
Oh, he's the greatest frontman to ever walk the face of this earth. Hands down. No one commands an audience like him. 100%.
Okay. Speaking of shows, so when did you attend your first Kiss show?
So my first Kiss show was July 13th, 2004, Rock the Nation tour. It was at what was formerly called the Tweeter Waterfront Center. Now it's been rechristened so many times. Camden, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia. I literally remember I had lawn seats because it's like a typical, like, as they call it, the summer sheds, where basically you have like the seating underneath and then you have a lawn part. Sat right in the lawn. We got free tickets from some connection that my family had known. I remember going to Spencer's and buying an oversized Kiss t-shirt and just standing at the lawn and just singing along to every damn word of every song that night. And that is a solid tour to see because they were really kind of digging deep into the set list a little bit. I mean, God, they were playing things like freaking Lover All I Can, Parasite, all the way. I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So it was really cool for myself who knew the catalog pretty well when I was that age. I was 6 years old for my first Kiss show. To witness that. And it's great too, because that was when they started to record the shows and sell them afterwards. So I have a document of the first Kiss show I ever saw that I get to relive whenever I want to. So
nice.
that was my first Kiss.
Nice. And ever since, so every time they come close by to your place, so you go and see them? How many times have you seen them?
Oh gosh, okay, let's do a tally. So Rock the Nation tour. That was 2004. Then I saw them on the Alive 35 tour in 2009 when Sonic Boom came out. I had the flu and I still went to the show. I saw them in 2010 when they came to Camden. That was the hottest show on earth. Then there was the Kiss and Motley Crue tour. Then I saw them twice with Def Leppard.
Oh, nice.
And then I caught them in Philly for the end of the road tour. That was back in March of 2019. Then I saw them in Atlantic City in 2021. I had third row seats. That was the closest I've ever been for a Kiss show, probably the closest I'll ever be. And then coming up, I'm actually going to 2 shows on this, 3 shows total on this final run. I'm going to see them in Palm Springs in the Hollywood Bowl out in LA, thanks to a friend who got me tickets. And then I'm going to be at the last show at the Garden.
There you go.
So, well, that's close to 10 times almost.
There you go. So we'll meet you there, and December the 2nd, we have to see each other.
Oh,
man.
you guys are going?
Oh yeah,
we're going.
Oh yeah, we're there.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, New York is going to be freaking taken over by
Oh,
us.
absolutely.
It's going to be, we'll be in good company, let's just say.
Everywhere.
No, Dylan, I'm a high school teacher, and we're organizing a New York trip, and I was invited to go. It's on the exact same weekend as the Kiss show.
Oh, God.
So I said, I can't go. I'm going to see there. But guys, be warned, New York will be taken over by Kiss fans.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, are you guys going to be, have you guys been to New York before?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah.
So have you guys visited Tenny's 23rd Street?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm making my pilgrimage. I'm going to visit there, see the corner where Dress to Kill was shot. Like,
yeah,
I got to see the monuments, you know?
the landmarks. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Hey, Dylan, have you had the chance to meet any of the Kiss members?
I've only met one. I met Peter Criss about a year ago, actually. He appeared at the Atlantic City HorrorCon convention, which is held in Atlantic City, in Jersey, about an hour away from me. And it's so funny. Because I don't know if you guys remember the footage of the Unplugged rehearsals when Ace and Peter come in, and you see Gene go, "Hi, Pete." And I literally said, "Hey, Pete." And he looked at me and he said, "It's Peter." And I'm like, sorry.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I fucked this up big time. The poor guy, look, he was in a lot of pain that day. He said he was having some problems with his knee and such. So, but he stood there. He met everyone. He took photos with everyone. He signed something of mine, which I am going to show in a little bit. And that's the only time that I've met anybody. But I don't know, like, for those that have met the guys in that band, whether it's past or present, like, I don't know, those guys are just on another plane where it's like,
exactly.
It's so pure. I don't want that tarnished. But like, I don't know, like guys like Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer, they're very approachable. But Gene and Paul, like, I am no good to be in their presence. Like, seriously, it's from a safe distance.
Let's keep them as the demon and the Star Child. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Leave it there.
No, but like we mentioned before, hopefully we'll get to meet in New York, and I mean, there's going to be fans there from all around the world, you know. And that's the great thing about being a Kiss fan. The great thing about doing these podcasts is meeting these amazing people. It's like I feel like we're friends already. Just like seeing your collection behind you, it's like we're buds, man. And you know, looking forward to hopefully running into you at the show, like you're a friend. You know.
Listen. We will make that happen, and that's the great thing with all of us, because it is a community spelled with a K.
Exactly, exactly. But you know, one of the other great things about meeting Kiss fans, it's like we're brothers, we're sisters, we're best of friends. But it's not because of just Kiss. We have so many things in common because of the band. We have so many similarities in common. And one of those similarities in this case is vinyl collecting. Because right now I am salivating.
He's laughing. Here. He's laughing already.
Oh my God. So how did you get started collecting vinyl? What inspired you into this journey? Forget journey, this rabbit hole that is vinyl collecting.
So vinyl collecting really became a thing for me in 2014. I was a senior in high school, and Kiss aside, the main reason why I got into record collecting is because of Jack White and his record label, Third Man Records. Because Jack has always been a vinyl analog kind of guy. And the cool thing with Third Man is that they have pushed the formats, like not the formats, but the limits of how far could the format go in terms of colored vinyl, specialty pressings, just the physicality of owning music. That idea was one thing. But also for me, I love the idea of dropping the needle onto a record and listening to an album from start to finish with no skipping, no nothing, just as it was intended. And I think it's an art form that some artists nowadays take for granted in the age of digital. So that's why I also gravitate towards it. But then when I started collecting, it was just like a casual little thing, one playable copy of all the records I love. And then it turned into this descent into madness. So
Okay, I have to be honest. I'm honestly, I am not kidding here. When I watch your show, I have a notebook. And when a vinyl, I'm not kidding. When a vinyl comes out, like I don't have that, I write it down so I don't forget, and I make sure to eventually get my hands on it. And Claudio will vouch for me. You should see the collection I've got.
Oh, no,
it's insane.
amazing.
It's insane.
Well, that's an episode right there. You got to show your collection in a future episode.
Yes, sir. We should do that.
What I love about your show is the way you describe the album. You go into the the artwork. You take out the album, show the color of it, the posters. Yeah. Would you be able to do a little bit of a show and tell now with some of the records that you have?
Yes. So I actually did curate a solid selection of stuff in my main collection, and then I have some cool vintage stuff that I kind of keep outside of that. I have a couple of those vintage pieces I'm going to show first. And just for those that aren't aware of what I do, this will give you an idea on the stuff that I am after. I hope this doesn't consume too much time. So as for vintage stuff, here is a first pressing of the debut. I'm just going to take out this label and show it on camera. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
But this does not have Kissin' Time on it. So this is indeed a genuine first pressing before they included Kissin' Time on subsequent versions starting around summer of 74. And here is the 1977 club press of Rock and Roll Over. And as you can see, it is most commonly referred to as the teardrop variant. Yeah. Which obviously it wasn't intended for it to be tears. It's a printing error, and it just happens to look like tears near Paul's eye. I have 2 copies of this, and this is the nicer one that I have. And then here is just a regular beat-up copy of Alive 2 that came in through the shop that I work at, but it's the Thinking Eye, signed by Ace Frehley.
Oh, there you go.
And this is definitely the way that he signed it. It's definitely like 1980 or right before that, because then later on he started adding the Ace card in his signature.
Yeah.
So that is before that. So that is vintage stuff. Now we're going to get into the main meats and potatoes, and I'm going to try to go through this as quick as possible. So
take your time.
I collect a lot of, I have all the 2014 reissues, because back when the catalog first got reissued by Universal, like that was when I started to collect. So that was a prime time to get some fresh, clean Kiss vinyl with all the bells and whistles. So here is my copy of the debut. And because I mentioned I met Peter, he signed my copy. And obviously there's no other color for him to sign in than neon green. So as for collectible stuff, this I picked up at a record store in Illinois with my buddies last year. Here is an original 2003 Kiss Symphony.
Oh, nice.
Which literally the moment, like, I was panting when I saw this, like, just like breathing so heavily, because I remember I said to myself, if I was to find a Kiss Grail in the sense that I didn't have this, I was like, I would love to find this. And this was the last record I bought during our travels. So got my hands on that. I am also a big collector of all of the Kiss Online exclusive pressings that they do for like anniversaries and such. I kind of came to it a little bit later, so there's some stuff that I'm missing, but since I kind of jumped on that, I've been consistent. So for example, here is Unmasked, and this is probably one of my favorite exclusives that they did. It comes pressed on this awesome. Sort of white with colored splatter. Also, Universal Germany has been doing a lot of cool exclusives lately. I think the best thing that they've done, and I think this might be the coolest, most extravagant, nicest piece of official Kiss vinyl, is the 2LP 45 RPM cut of Killers. Has tracks from all the various different versions, Australian, Japanese, everything. Yeah. Comes with pink vinyl, all kinds of extras. It's absolutely solid. Recently, and it's funny, I'm kind of going to spoil this now. I have been going down a picture disc rabbit hole. And I know Kiss Online does a lot of picture disc stuff. Some of it is a little pricey and out of my reach personally. But I copped this for $50 only because there was a corner ding. Here, I'll show the jacket first. It's double platinum. A little bit of damage there, which is not too much to kind of wet my whistle over. But here is the picture disc for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Typically, this goes for
Beautiful.
about $100 on average. I was able to cop it for a low price, so I
50
was really
bucks.
happy with that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Now we get to the cool stuff. So for anyone out there that knows what I do, I am a massive bootleg collector. And that's anything is fair game. It could be soundboard audio, audience recordings, demos, unreleased stuff. Anything is fair game. I haven't shown this in a video before. I'm saving this for my next big Kiss bootleg haul. So you guys saw it here first. Kiss Army
Nice.
Podcast exclusive. Wicked Lester album
Oh,
with the original cover as it was intended, which appeared on the Laughing Dogs album cover much later on. So I have that. Like I mentioned, notable soundboard recordings. Here is a cool one. I'll take these things out of sleeves. I'll show them off. Here is a really cool one. This is Auckland, New Zealand, 1980. It's the last show of the Unmasked tour. Soundboard sounds fantastic, and this was Ace's last show before he returned, and it's phenomenal.
Put it in your note to take note.
And let's see. There's some. What else is there? There's a giant ass poster. Here, I'll fold this out just to show you of the Fox himself.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
What's the name of the album again?
So this one's literally just called Western Springs Stadium, Auckland. That's simply it. I will say, though, these things do rack up immensely in value, so it takes some research to find them, and comes pressed on yellow vinyl. And also, check out that, like, cool custom label. That has never appeared anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
Look at that with Eric. Oh, my God.
I'm dying.
So-
I'm dying here.
So there's that. And as well, like I said, audience recordings, you know, whether how good they are or how bad they are, it makes you appreciate the performance. And this one is rather historical. This is Under the Gun with Mark St. John. So between owning this audience recording and the Off the Soundboard Poughkeepsie release, that's every full show that Mark St. John did with the band. So, and this comes on orange vinyl. Nothing too crazy with packaging.
How's the sound? How's the sound on that one?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. You know, if you are a real appreciator of bootlegs, you know, you can identify what is like an excellent audience recording or the most piss poor sounding. But the one cool story that I'm going to share is with this next thing. I actually have not shown this on my channel yet, but I promise there is an unboxing coming. I'm sure you're probably aware. There's all these picture disc box sets centered around certain tours. This is one that's come out within several months ago. This is called the Demons of Rock and Roll. So this covers the Dress to Kill tour before Cobo Hall. Now, one of the shows in this box set is from the Tower Theater in Philadelphia. This was May 3rd, 75, 2 weeks before Cobo Hall. My father was at that show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, man.
So, and I knew that there was a recording out there of the show. I knew it. I heard it on YouTube and everything, but I wanted a physical copy. So when they rolled out this box, I was like, this is my opportunity. And just given how between my parents, my dad's the Kiss fan, having this is extra sentimental. So,
absolutely. Yeah, it has an emotional connection, you know, big time. Yeah. Big time.
That's a little teaser right there of what I have.
Oh, that's crazy. So listen, Todd Raddick, if you're listening to this episode right now, the bootlegs you saw, if you have them, send me a PM. I want them. All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Well, that's awesome. You know, Dylan, thanks for sharing with us and the audience, you know, and the people who are watching. This is fantastic, man. This is great. Thank you so much.
Of course, no problem.
Super cool. And now talking about passions, you know, collecting was one of them. It's still one of them for you. But then it's always so nice when you can translate your passions into tangible projects, okay? And I guess you know where I'm coming from. So back in 2018, you decided to start something really, really cool called the Record Spinner, okay?
Yes.
So tell us, how did that happen, and what was the spark that basically ignited the project?
Okay, so 2014 was when I started to collect, and throughout a couple of years when I was building my collection, I realized that there was this community of various people all over the world on YouTube talking about vinyl, their music taste. They're showing off their collections and everything. And it ranges from people that just did it as a casual hobby, and then to
Yeah.
those that actually went forth and made content specifically for newcomers of the format and everything. So kind of seeing what the YouTube vinyl community was like at that time, it kind of gave me the inspiration to throw my hat in the ring and find an outlet for me to pursue my passions. And it was just an idea that I toyed with for about maybe a year. And I am not a big kind of participator in like New Year's resolutions. This is not my thing, but I thought January 1st, 2018 would be a prime time to start. So sure enough, that was when I launched the record spinner, and almost 6 years later, it's still ongoing. And it's been a very fruitful passion of mine to pursue my love for vinyl, music, Kiss, all the bands that I love, and even beyond. So it's been extremely fruitful.
So, and if you could define with a simple, sentence or paragraph, what the record spinner is, what could you say?
Okay, so all right, here's the sales pitch. The Record Spinner is a YouTube channel devoted to vinyl collecting and music. New videos are uploaded every Friday based on a myriad of topics such as artist discussion, collection showcases, unboxings, record store vlogs, and more. And if you're a fan of the hottest band in the world, there's plenty of content to feast your eyes on. There
Beautiful.
you go.
Beautiful.
Nice.
You got it.
So, Dylan, I'm sure you're very much like us. You know, Claudia and I do this podcast because we love it. We love interacting with the fans, talking Kiss. We can't get enough of it. And again, we do it because we love it. So you've been doing the Record Spinner for 6 years now. Are you happy with the results of the show and the feedback you've been getting regarding your show?
100%. I know for, some other people that do what I do, it's very easy to feel that burnout, and that's understandable. But for me, my eye is out on the prize. I would like what I do on YouTube to be, I mean, it ultimately kind of is, but to be the foundation of what is to come in my future professionally and career-wise. I mean, it's because of what I've done on YouTube that also got me a gig in journalism. I started writing for a website called VW Music, and then I got a gig writing for trackingangle.com. So that YouTube has proved to be a solid kind of starting ground for me, and I'm still doing it to this day because the well never runs dry. I have tons of ideas and things that I want to execute over time. And even as time has progressed, the Record Spinner has morphed into a different animal than perhaps what I initially saw it as back in 2018. And I can gladly say that it has surpassed everything that I could possibly imagine. So,
doing a show for close to 6 years, it's easy for a podcast to become stagnant, right? Do you feel that your show continues to grow? And where would you like the show to go in the near future?
You know what? It's funny. In a very simplistic way, I feel like I do the same thing roughly every year until I see the need that it's not fulfilling, anything personally or, whatever. But obviously the quality of the content is getting better, because when I started out, I was kind of just sort of not copying others, but seeing what other people were doing. That was sort of the basis of me starting out. But then once I got comfortable, then I started to find things that I guess people hadn't done before, or things that were of personal interest to me, which I guess makes the Record Spinner kind of unique, because I don't necessarily follow trends with what other people are kind of doing. I make the content that I personally myself would want to seek out. And I feel like that is what perhaps makes it a bit more personable, I think. Granted, the quality of my content visually is okay for what it is, filming on various cameras, an iPhone, a webcam, whatever. But I try to maintain that sort of personable connection, not like there's that barrier where, viewers aren't able to interact with me, because I love, that sense of community that I have created with my viewers and my followers. It's a truly special thing.
And Dylan, it shows, and you're so professional, and you can see that there's so much planning behind, and only people who take the challenge of getting into these kind of projects know that if you want to do something right, you have to put a lot of time into it. So how much planning you put into that? So, and then it's interesting, you said before that over time you saw, your product kind of, growing and evolving from what you first thought. So what was that? So why the change, and basically that. So what's the planning and how is it going? So where are you going to go from now on?
Basically from this point on, in terms of planning and such, I mean, it's relatively quick. Like it all starts with a basic idea. And then it's like, okay, gather up all the facts and info together and then just filming it, editing, and that's basically it. It's done in a matter of hours. But even like going into the future, like it's almost like a job for me to work at clockwork to have content that's lined up going into the new year, basically. And that's what I'm focused on right now. So that's thinking of, what haven't I discussed that is of immense interest that could be also educational as well for those that perhaps aren't in the loop of certain, facets of, a particular band that I might discuss. Or in the case of making Kiss content, I think to myself, okay, what box sets haven't I shown? What things haven't I discussed? What facets of Kiss vinyl can I discuss that still keeps it relatively fresh and has people continuously coming back and more people jumping on board with what I've been doing. So definitely is a lot of work, but like I said before, the well never runs dry. I always try to keep everything as fresh and rolling as possible.
Okay. We know that you follow our podcast, steadily, and we feel so honored about it. And speaking of that, so what's your overall opinion on Kiss podcasts out there? There's so many and so many different variants. So what do you think about that?
It's good that you mentioned like the different variants of them out there, because I feel like each one has something special to offer, whether it's down to the topics that are discussed or the guests that are on, whether if it's within Kiss circles or, let's say in my case, someone that's not exactly in the official reigns, but has contributed, at least I would like to think, a little bit to the Kiss fandom with whether it's, the videos that I've done on bootlegs or Kiss vinyl or, writing articles on them in my writing pursuits. Each one has their vein. And I feel like in terms of what they discuss, that's what makes someone like myself who does actually, listen to various Kiss podcasts, whether it's you guys, Three Sides of the Coin, Kiss FAQ, all those, podcasts. I know what to expect and I know what kind of viewpoints and things that they're going to tackle. And I think that is what sets them on their own plane. But still, as always, like all Kiss fans and various Kiss things intertwined, it's that one element that brings us all together. And I think that's the one thing that someone as a listener and a viewer can really gravitate towards.
Absolutely.
That brings up an interesting question. So before we close the curtain on this episode, I want to get your opinion on a couple of topics that we've talked about in previous episodes. So, for example, how do you believe Kiss fans will keep the memory of Kiss alive? How will you, for example, keep the memory of Kiss alive when they're done after December 2nd?
So, one thing I always keep in mind, and I don't know if people catch on, but I always, like I mention it, every month I will devote a video to Kiss. And it'll be anything, basically. It could be an unboxing. It could be a discussion. It could be a showcase of this or that. So I'll be doing everything in my power as a content creator to keep that content coming. I'm always sharing, Kiss stuff on social media because I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm always sharing bits of that. It's funny you actually mentioned that last show because I have something very special planned for the month of December regarding Kiss that coincidentally is all kind of going to commence when those last two shows at the Garden start. It was coincidental, but in hindsight, I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's perfect. Like, that's perfect to build up upon. So believe me, I'll be doing plenty on my end to keep that legacy alive. Because after all, Kiss fans are the most passionate ones, and we will do anything at any length and strength to keep that memory going.
Absolutely.
No, and like you said, even after Kiss reaches the end of the road, I don't think that well is going to dry up. There's still going to be so much content for us to pursue.
Oh, sure. I mean, whether it's between off the soundboards, the box sets, I mean, obviously, for us, let's face it, whatever they put out, we're going to buy it.
For sure.
So-
It has their name all over it. So, but no, there's definitely plenty for them to offer once they do wipe the makeup off and pack in the armor. There's
Mhm.
plenty.
So one more question, and it's an odd one because we're talking about December 2nd. It's the end of the road. It's in a sense the end of KISS. But we always ask the question, what will happen with the band after December 2nd? So what do you think is going to happen to KISS after December 2nd? Do you think they're going to do one-offs, for example?
So that is a very good question. I mean, if they're going to do one-offs, the money better be worth it for them. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll jump at any major price, whether it's a Vegas residency, maybe at the Sphere in Vegas. Have you guys seen
Wow,
the
my
footage of
God.
U2 doing
Oh my
that?
God, yes.
Yeah.
So if they could rake in some dough doing that. So that's a hypothetical. But even if that was to be it and they don't play a note together, well, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, I could see them maybe doing more stuff out of the makeup.
Mhm.
So if there was to do, if there was to be a one-off in the future, it would probably be a stripped down affair. So, this last leg and these last shows at the Garden is probably going to be the last that we will see them in all of their grease paint and armor glory. Or even if they decide to not do a single show after that, then we can be like, hey, we were at the genuine last show.
Exactly.
But maybe that's more gratifying for us, at least.
Right.
For those that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as part of a kind of a continuation of we're so used to the band to release the stuff. It's been a while, that the band hasn't released or hasn't announced any box set or off the soundboard. What would you like them to release as the next box set?
Oh, geez. I've heard murmurings of what is the next set, and if I'm correct, I'm glad that they're doing it. I would personally love, and this stuff has to exist. I'm sure it all does. All of the Alive shows, Detroit, Davenport, Wildwood, New Jersey, which that's special because Wildwood is literally an hour away from me, and everywhere else in Cleveland. Give us a box of all those shows. Put them all together. Give us all the LA Forum shows done for Kiss Alive 2.
Alive 2. Right.
Just, from the historical context, so we can hear those shows undoctored. And, it's not a thing of, how much did they overdub? Just for us to hear the band play live, wart and all, which is why products like this are perfect for that, because you get to hear all those imperfections.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see that. Obviously, I mean, they're rolling out stuff in this Off the Soundboard series that I have had no knowledge existed. I didn't know that there was a soundboard show from Mark St. John.
Yeah.
Des Moines, 1977. There was some crummy audience recording that circulated. Soundboard exists of that. So God really knows. But if we could go earlier, the better, personally, for me.
Okay. Beautiful. It's been such a pleasure, Dylan, to spend time with you, man. So, this is beyond anybody's expectations, having you on the show and sharing with you our, your passion and showing stuff and having such a fruitful discussion, with us. It was amazing, man. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you. Seriously, it was an immense honor. This has been fun.
Now, Dylan, you said that one of your goals on your show is to be personable and have that connection with fans. And I honestly believe that you have pulled that off. You pulled it off on your show. You pulled it off here. Here we are talking behind the screen. And I feel like I know you, man.
That's awesome.
You're such an awesome person, man. It's like,
thank you.
It's been fantastic to have you on the show. And I know our listeners will get that same feeling when they watch. They're watching a very personable person. Fantastic. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Seriously, thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you. And we definitely will be making it a point to meet in New York on December 2nd.
Oh, yes, we will, man.
It is going to happen.
Absolutely.
All right. To the KISS Army. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, Podomatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.